Today we're going to talk about graphing on a coordinate plane. So put that at the top of your paper and put today's date. Okay, there's a lot of stuff you need to know. You probably know most of it, but let's review. Remember, a coordinate plane is basically just two number lines that intersect. Here is your x-axis, and remember you're drawing all of this, okay? Here's your x-axis, and here is your y-axis. So the y goes up and down, the x goes left and right. Now, we're going to put little lines here to indicate that that's one unit. And it could be anything you want, but typically it's one. So for each axis, let's make about 5 on each side. And try to evenly space them. So here we have our coordinate plane. And I know I drew it, so it's not perfect, but that's probably what you're going to have to do, so get used to drawing them. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about, this whole thing's a coordinate plane. Let's label some of these things. Let's label this as the x-axis. Okay? And if that's the x-axis, we label this as the y-axis. Now, when you graph, you're going to put an x on the horizontal line and a y on the vertical line. And exactly where they meet is called the origin. Now, it's called the origin because that's where everything starts. Just like how Batman's origin story is where his parents get murdered and he's left an orphan, or Spider-Man's origin story is his Uncle Ben is killed by a mugger, so he gets bitten by a radioactive spider. That's the beginning of their stories. This is the beginning of the graph. For example, if we have the point 2, 3, we're going to start at our origin. Remember, the first number is our x-axis, is our x, and our second number is our y. And if you want to number these could be, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this would be -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. Just like a number line, to the right is positive, to the left is negative, and then in the y-axis going up is positive, and going down is negative. So going down is negative. So as you can imagine, our origin's actually at 0, 0. So we want to go to 2, 3. So I'm going to find the 2 on the x, which is 1, 2, which is right here. And so I went 2 to the right, and I'm going to go 3 up, 1, 2, 3. Now you're not going to draw these arrows every time. I'm just drawing them to show you. So that is the point that we just made. That is 2, 3 right there. We went 2 to the right from the origin, and then 3 up. Another thing that we have to consider is the quadrant. Now quad means 4, and so there are 4 sections of a graph, 4 quadrants. And the first one is the upper right-hand corner. So that's quadrant 1. And we're going to do everything in Roman numerals so that we don't confuse them with the other numbers. So that's quadrant 1. Over here is quadrant 2. So it's 1, 2, here's 3, and down here is quadrant 4. So upper right is 1, upper left is 2, bottom left is 3, and bottom right is 4. It basically goes in like a big C pattern. Okay, so you should have all that stuff labeled. Okay, so on this slide, we want to give the coordinates and quadrant of each point. So let's take a look here at M. M is at, if remember, this is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. M is, starting at the origin, of course, 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. So we know that the first point is 4, because remember, it's x comma y. So we know that the first point is 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we go 2 up. So we know that our y is 2. Because when you go up, it's positive. Remember, when you go left and right, or sorry, when you go up it's positive, down it's negative. And remember the quadrants, let's label them right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So that's quadrant 1. Try numbers 2 and 3 on your own. Okay, let's take a look at P. So for our X, we actually go to the left this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if we go to the left, that's actually a negative 5 because think of this as a big number line. On a number line, if zero's here, negatives go to the left. And Y, it actually doesn't go up or down on the Y-axis, so it stays at 0. Now, when you think about quadrants, you could say it's just on the X-axis, or you could say it's in quadrant 2 and 3. So it's in quadrant 2 and 3. Now, for O is at 1, 2, 3. So that's negative 3 on the X. And we go down 3 this time. That's negative 3 on the Y. And when both are negative, when we're in this quadrant here, remember that's quadrant 3. Here, we're going to do numbers 4 and 5 together. We're going to graph each point on a coordinate plane, and then you're going to do numbers 6 and 7. So let's see what that looks like. So just on your notes, draw it just like I'm drawing it here. And look, we have to make it at least up to 5. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll make it up to 6, I guess. And it's not going to be perfect because you're drawing it, but try to make it as neat as possible. Now, see, I made these a little too long, so I'm going to redo these. All right. So let's do A. Remember, this is our Y, and this is our X. All right. A is at 2.5. So the X, remember, is at 2.5. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and in the middle there somewhere. And the Y is at 5. So I'm going to go all the way up to 5. So remember, halfway between 2 and 3, because it's 2.5, and about right there. So that's A. B, the X is at 0, so it doesn't go left or right. But the Y is at 4.5. So let's go up 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So there's my B. Try numbers 6 and 7 on your own. All right. Now C is kind of weird because the X is at negative 1 and 1/5. So I'm going to go to my negative 1. And then 1/5 is 0.2. So I'm going to go about a quarter of the way, a little less than a quarter of the way. I mean, it's not going to be perfect, but estimate. So about right there. And then up 2.7. So here's 1, 2.7 is somewhere around there. So that'd be my C. And then D, we go to 2.3 on my X. 2.3 is a third of the way, about, so right there. And negative 3 on the Y. So down 1, 2, 3. So it's about right there. Okay, for number 8 here, it says complete the table for y equals 3x minus 2. Graph the ordered pairs on a coordinate plane. Draw a line through the points to represent all possible solutions. Now, for these, you always need at least 3 points. So when I make my table for my x, I need at least 3 of them. 2 is not enough because a third point could take it in a whole new direction. So you need at least 3 points. So here I have my x. I'm going to use whatever they give me, 3x minus 2 up here. And then I'm going to use my y. And then I get my ordered pair. Now, I always like to use easy numbers because it's going to make my life easier. And I'll still so I'm going to use 0, 1, and 2. So what happens when we plug these in? And nobody gave me the 0, 1, and 2. I picked those. I was given the 3x minus 2. So we do 3 times 0 minus 2. 3 times 0 is 0, minus 2 is negative 2. So that becomes 0, negative 2. 3 times 1 minus 2. 3 times 1 is 3, minus 2 is 1. So that becomes 1, 1. And then 3 times 2 minus 2. So that's 6 minus 2, which is 4. So that is 2, 4. So now I have to graph them. We did this part yesterday, so you should be good at this. So now we have to graph them on a coordinate plane. So I'm going to make my coordinate plane. Is it going to be perfect? No, but all right, I'll make it 5 on each side. Make sure I have enough room. Okay, there's my x, there's my y. So 0, negative 2 is my first point. So that's here. We did 0 on the x and went down 2. 1, 1 is my second point, so right 1, up 1. And 2, 4 is my third point. So we have a nice straight line here, and we connect them. Okay. And they should all line up. If we use the correct things, they should all line up because this line represents 3x minus 2. This thing is 3x minus 2. And all of those that we just figured out are solutions. Those are my points. Try number 9 on your own. Okay, welcome back. Here we have y equals 2x minus 3. So my x's, again, I'm going to pick easy ones. And you might have picked different x's. That's okay. Here's my 2x minus 3. I will get a y, and then I'll get my x comma y. So remember, we need 3 points here. Remember, we want easy ones, so I'm going to pick 0, 1, and 2. So 2 times 0 minus 3. That's 0 minus 3, which is negative 3. So my first point is 0, negative 3. 2 times 1 minus 3. So that's 2 minus 3, which is negative 1. And 2 times 2 minus 3. So that's 4 minus 3, which is 1. So I'm going to graph these. So I have my coordinate plane here that I'm going to make myself. I'm just going to do 3 this time, so I think that's all I need. Okay. So I have 0. So I have 0, negative 3 right here, 1, negative 1 right here, and 2, 1 right here. And it makes a nice line. And again, that's linear because it's in a straight line. Or if I drew it right, it'd be in a straight line. All right, great. See you later.